Next question will be for Governor Soludo. During your presentation, you said Nigeria, with statistics, is a poor country. Now, the last 6 months, if you speak to a lot of people, there's a mantra you hear, Ebing Pami, Ebing Pami. People are saying they are hungry. Labor is asking for a new minimum wage. People are saying if you increase the wages, the public sector might struggle, the private sector might struggle, inflation might go up. What is your take on this new minimum wage?
I don't know who sent you. I don't know. Whoever sent you, tell them you didn't see me. Comment on minimum wage, and as a sitting governor, that's like going to roast corn on a petrol station. You know, because what are you going to say? I've said it in my lecture here. I did say, at a personal level, I won't comment deeply on that. There are deep conversations that need to have, which we missed the opportunity to have, which will probably someday we'll get to it. You know, discussion about minimum wage is a very emotional thing. The worker is saying, my wage can't take me home. And there's enumerates what he needs. Nobody is talking about productivity. Nobody is talking about ability to pay. Nobody is, and part of it, as I said during my presentation here, is the lifestyle, the impression that we gave from the public, this thing that all is well. They see those convoys of 30, 40, 50, can you tell him you cannot pay this much? Then they say, wait a minute, no, if a member of National Assembly can go home with this, why not? So, and we have all these parallels. I said, sometime I wish that we'll pay everybody minimum of 1 million. Okay? 2 million, 5 million even. I wish. But the reality is, you bring the numbers and put it on the table. I just said, at the best of estimates I can get, unless something changes tomorrow, federal government's actual revenue will probably not exceed 17 trillion this year. If you share it to all Nigerians, it comes to 6,160 naira per person per month. That's what it comes out per capita. If you take even the total 28.7 trillion and share, it will come down to 10,000 naira per person per month. I'm talking about per capita. If I take my state, I've told you, if you share every revenue that we got, it comes down to less than 2,500 per person. Now, but this money belongs to all Nigerians. That's what you need to provide infrastructure, fix schools, fix this, fix that, and so on and so forth. So, there is that general conversation that we're going to have. We're not talking about benchmarks or to the rest of the world and where we are and so on and so forth. Even where in the world they all have minimum wage annualized that is more than 30% of the per capita income. It's talking about carrying capacity. So this conversation is a very deep one, but not one that I want to get into, but I just want to make 2 quick points about it. First, we must make distinction between a national minimum wage and discussions about civil service minimum wage. Because there was a confusion as if the discussion was a negotiation between government and labor. No, as Governor Fashola mentioned, MSMEs, I think you mentioned that statistics, employs about, I think, 49-point-something million. That's what I heard. They are the largest employers. And I will leave you with this thought. I was talking with a farmer speaker. He's a former speaker. And I asked him whether he can pay And what we were gisting there, I will give him a microphone to say it, what he told me, whether he can pay, what he can pay at his own farm. I spoke to 9 small, medium enterprises in my state. 9. And the response by these 9 is interesting. None of them knew that the conversation was about them. None of them. In fact, one of them said, let them pay it now, let them. I said, no. What is being discussed is what you will pay. Say, no, not us. Okay. I'll tell you the conversation. 2 of them in particular. One happened to be a proprietress of a private school, and she has 26 staff. The gardeners, the cleaners, the gateman, the driver, the this, and so on. And I said to her, so how are you going to cope with this? He said, no, it doesn't pertain to us. I said, no, that once it becomes law, that's what you must pay. And you know her response? He says, in that case, they can come and close the school. Or, he said, do I know how much she pays the head teacher of her school? They are talking 60. He said, in that case, if she raises the school fees enough to be able to pay that all the children will run away. That's one. The second one happened to be one guy that produces some of this bottled water. And he has 33 staff. And you know, minimum wage applies once you employ up to a certain number, 25 or so. 10 or there, about 10 or 25 or whatever, it's mandatory. You will be prosecuted if you don't. So I said to the guy about him, he said, no, it's not for them, it's government. When I tried to convince him that it's also about him, what he's going to pay, his response was very interesting. He says, now, after buying diesel at the cost he's buying, that he's actually thinking of laying off some of the workers that they margin, because there is a limit to which he can increase prices. So the only thing he will do is to lay off some. He said, well, if they come and force me, then I close this place. Now, it's important that we understand that we are discussing the minimum which everybody will have to pay. The churches, the schools, the roadside bakery, the farmers who employ a certain number, everybody. Those SMEs that employ the 49-point-something million, they must pay this. That's what it is about. Once we understand it, no problem. That's the point. It's a very important thing that we understand, because we're not discussing civil service minimum salary, because they make it as if it is government versus us. Government versus, it's not government. Put it what it is, and then if I receive what I got in a month, I put it on the table, then you got to ask, how many staff can I pay? I have just recruited additional 8,115 teachers. For comparison, the Labour Party in the UK is proposing that if it wins the next election, it will recruit additional 6,400 and something teachers for the entire UK. In Anambra, in 2 years, I have recruited 8,115, and I have to pay them. So, the minimum wage thing, it goes, everybody is right. Everybody is right. The worker is right to say, what am I getting? Nobody is asking, what does the worker do? We're not asking that question yet. All we're saying is, how much does he need? He's right. And for me, even if you pay 1 million, 10 million, it's not enough. Fair enough. But on the other hand, you have to come back to reality. That we're talking about this MSMEs, the school, private schools, churches, so on and so forth. You have to pay your own driver that way. You have to pay your this and so on and so forth. We're all in it. Whatever they agree. We'll muddle through, so to speak. But maybe after 1 year, we will meet to discuss the consequences. The only challenge often is that, now talking about the consequences, I remind ourselves, in 1973, there was the famous Udoji Award. Udoji Award. Salaries were doubled. Yeah, workers and so on. The oil boom thing, what do we do with money? We double salaries. A few months after that, the average worker, about a year later, the average worker felt that he was better off before the boom. And so, I pity the president, because it will all be on his head. If the consequences come down, whatever it is, if whatever is negotiated is unsustainable or unpayable or whatever, months to come, who will bear the responsibility? Not me. So, months later, it will still come back. It is Tinubu, since he did this one didn't. Just like we're talking about this removal of subsidy. I think as I was discussing with you before we started, the subsidy was actually removed by the previous administration. It was removed by the previous administration because by their 2023 budget, they said they couldn't go beyond June. So by the law passed by the National Assembly, they had legislated that subsidy was going to end by June 2023 because we had reached the end. You couldn't go much further. But then this president comes, just at the beginning of it, the thing, I said, Tinubu, you remove subsidy. Anyway, so the consequence will still come back. If there is if it's dislocational, everybody will still go back to the president. But I think we can all get to the room and dialogue and discuss how this thing can be fixed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.